right, everybody. Welcome out to the RemiX Morning Show right here on Black Power Media. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and it is Friday, aka Thursday. To us, it's Friday. But right here on Black Power Media, once again, let me introduce you to our hosts. We have Kamal K. Franklin, Burn It Down Kim Brown, and straight out the chat room into the room of the gods and the goddesses, we got Hiram. Let's go, y'all.
Hiram!
Puerto Rico!
Yo!
Oh!
You know what I'm saying?
Right there, play some Wu-Tang.
Decided to pull out. Yeah, we decided to pull you out the chat, pull some folks out the chat. Everybody's so smart in the chat.
Hold up, Kim's eyes.
Yeah.
When he said pull out.
Hey, man, you heard what Kamal said.
Why you gotta be like that? It's 803. 803. 803.
You said it, sir. I did. It was
Morning time's the best time. We talking about.
Hey, I know. All y'all got tribes of children and whatnot. Y'all would know.
Put a roll over.
And last but not least, Jackie Lukeman is in the
Jackie. She can't hear a word you're saying.
Nah, not yet.
Nothing. Okay, say those things again.
Okay, Jackie Lukeman is in the
Jackie.
Word.
How folks doing today?
All right.
Doing okay. I'm very encouraged to see Jacqueline Lukeman. I have been in a small, teeny tiny Twitter battle with Reverend Dr. Jared Ball this morning behind yesterday's remix show topic.
I assume this is the Chappelle, a little Chappelle that drama. Oh my God.
Yes. So I was encouraged that Jackie had replied to the, Jared's original tweet, and she said, "I'm watching this shit." And
Yeah, I watched the whole thing, and I was just like, "What the fuck?"
So that's why I'm very glad that you're here today, Jackie, because I too watched it last night, and I had thoughts. I too had some thoughts beyond hot Twitter take, by the way. as Jared replied to me this morning, he was like, "Oh, this is the Twitter take." I'm like, "No, dog, like no, your mans need to give up this ghost big time."
We jumping right into this?
No.
Y'all want to save it for the news segment?
Please.
Okay, fine.
Y'all want to save it?
Follow some damn rules. Okay, be conformist. Go ahead then. I don't care.
Let's see what Hiram wants to do.
Oh, Hiram. Hey.
What's going on, Jack? Am I here to break up the fight so y'all don't wild out like you did in the conversation? Or?
Oh, is that why you here for real?
I was like, yo, just
really?
For my Chappelle, and I'm just like, all right, here we
okay.
go.
All right, then.
I'm just here for the Wu-Tang. I'm here for the Wu-Tang.
Okay, that's
hold down for the remixes. So.
All right.
Hey, Hiram, don't forget how much Jackie used to bench press.
Hey, I think Jackie nice.
Jackie has the strength to come through the screen. Okay.
Nice.
I will deadlift you.
Word. Rock out, y'all.
Thank you, dear doctor. So, good morning, everybody. I see we got we got a collection of folks up in here today. Good morning to everybody in the chat. Hello to Hope, who is a new member here at Black Power Media. So, welcome, Hope. Thank you so much for your support of this very important platform. And so Kamal, I only kind of pay attention to how this show goes from top to bottom. So what do we do now? Are we spinning the globe, or we still tap dancing for a couple minutes?
Whoa. Isn't it still morning, introduction time, how you feeling time, what's been going on in your daytime?
Sure. We'll start with you, Kamal. Good morning. How are you doing? How are things in your corner of the world of Atlanta, Georgia?
Well, let me see. I rode the kids to school today. My kids have a habit of not wanting to eat what's on the breakfast table, and then they think they think it's like a diner. They can look at this shit and go push away. Like, nah, we don't want that. I'm gonna go get some cereal. It's like somebody just spent 30 minutes in the kitchen, cooking up eggs. And they go nah, I don't want that. They're pushing that away. So we had to battle today. You know what I'm saying? So
Do you gonna eat what I put in front of you battle?
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's not a diner. It's not a restaurant. There's no menu. Like they kids too soft. We raise them too soft. They think they got choices. They got no fucking choices.
No
And then,
choices.
and then your
And this
kids
food
go to
is
school and
nasty.
run game, talk about I'm hungry, and they be like, "Oh, well, how come your parents didn't feed you?"
And then they
Oh
call in
no.
the child protective services. Someone
Exactly.
goes out.
Exactly.
Now, can you cook
They're
for us?
not feeding their kids.
Say again, Hiram.
Can you cook?
Oh, no, I was talking about my wife. I wasn't cooking shit.
Can you cook?
We're kind of traditional up in here.
Can she
We
cook?
old
Cooking.
school.
uh,
Say again.
Can
Oh,
she
I'm
cook?
sorry. I'm sorry. That was a
I
personal
I
thing to
couldn't hear
myself.
what you were saying.
Note to self: do not get
Can you hear me?
married.
Only a little bit. You kind of low.
Let me try to fix it.
That's a little better. That was a little better. When you speak, when you're not, you can chat loudly, but when you on the ear, brother, you got to speak loudly. You know what I'm saying? I was
oh, you
letting you
got
know that.
shout up in this
I'm just
piece.
Doing
talking.
some.
I'm talking as my regular voice when we start yelling.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you know how you do. Like when you out in the streets, act like you back in Connecticut, son.
Ooh,
Give me your shy routine shit. So
Cut it out. You know
the
how
only
black folks
traditional
do when we
thing we
get together.
do, the only traditional thing we do is she cook. Otherwise, I do all the housework. I just want to let people know that.
oh, good.
Everything else is me. But I
Oh,
clean. But
good.
she makes fun of my cleaning. 'Cause I clean with I'll clean like with a tissue paper, and she'll look at me like I'm out of my mind. Yeah, like
Cause you
that look,
are.
Jackie.
Cause you
That look.
are.
Yeah.
What are you talking?
Because it's like I'm a quick clean. I'm an orderly person, but I'm not like a deep cleaner. So when she cleans, there's a markable difference. I can see the difference
It's
because I do
actually
it shit.
clean when
But
she
I do the
cleans it.
everyday cleaning, that kind of shit.
So basically, you don't clean. You just you
I
just
move
put
things
stuff in its
around.
place. Exactly. Oh yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. Jacqueline, como se fa ce matin in Washington D.C.? What's popping with you? I saw you was feeding Brewski some birthday cake. Happy belated birthday, Jacqueline Luke Mom.
Thank
By the
you.
way.
Thank you. Despite what Kalanji thinks, I was not hungover yesterday. I was not hungover yesterday. We had an early segment, but yeah, I got myself a little birthday cake and a little low alcohol sparkling wine, my favorite, and hung out with the dog and shared some birthday cake with him. And it was chill. Friends, comrades sent me some flowers. It was really beautiful.
Oh,
So it's going to be a lot of firsts. This year everything is a first. But you all really have made it bearable and not so horrible and terrible every day. So, you know, interestingly, I've given myself two birthday presents. My bedroom furniture. I bought new bedroom furniture. Like the first new furniture I've ever bought in my life. I think like
oh.
major, yeah, because I'm cheap, not because I'm just like I got a lot of family. They always moving. I'm like, oh, y'all want that? Okay, cool.
But times you deserve something new, not something that hasn't been used, something that is exclusively yours. You deserve that, Jackie. So I'm that's good news. I'm glad to hear that. Bedroom furniture is very important as I'm learning in my adulting years. Like, uh,
Yeah, it would look kind of ratchet, a 55-year-old woman sleeping on a pallet on the floor. But but I was like, $1,200. What the hell? What this shit do? I mean, is the TV included? I'm so cheap. It's so ridiculous. But I spent the money, and it comes this weekend, so I'm pretty excited about it.
congratulations. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hiram, where are you in Philly? You said nope. Very
you
low.
sound terrible. You sound terrible.
Terrible B.
Hear me
Terrible.
now?
Oh, much
Yes.
Yeah.
better. That's an
Yeah, see, I
improvement.
walked the laptop off Kalonji and now look.
hmm Your lighting is off. You trying to put that Palestinian picture in the background like you all radical and shit. You did everything but set your sound up, son. Everything but set your sound up. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like get you some new audio.
man. No, I'm here in Philadelphia, here in West Philadelphia. Um, everything is cool and just trying to survive. Gentrification kicking our ass over here, and so
Yeah, buddy.
trying to survive that.
Yeah, you see, I got, what I'm saying? I got my temple shirt on
You got
because,
some temple. I see the
just
Wu
because I
Tang
stutter
background.
sometimes, niggas think I ain't go to school, but that's cool. So anyway, so yeah, Temple TU. I know North Philadelphia is undergoing tremendous amounts of gentrification thanks to Temple. Temple has helped this gentrification process along quite a bit. So yeah,
Yeah.
fuck Temple sometimes, as far as I'm concerned. Alma
COVID
mater
too.
or no.
COVID pushed a lot of folks out of New York, and they're coming down into the city. And Philadelphia has this like tax abatement piece, and like developers don't pay taxes for like
Wow.
10 years, first 10 years, something like that. And so they put up condos everywhere. And so you're getting folks from New York, you're getting folks from Iowa, you're getting folks from the Midwest. It's just changing. I'm not originally from Philadelphia, but I've been here long. I've been here 10 years, and you notice the change in the culture, the change in the accent, the change in the whole vibe of the city as a result. And so it's really sad. One of the few black cities that still exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so even all that politically is changing as well. And so it's just sad to see.
Yeah.
Following in the path of DC, unfortunately.
Following the path of Atlanta, unfortunately.
And it's so crazy though, y'all. For reasons I still don't quite understand, the gentrification never comes fully to Baltimore. It comes in sections to Baltimore, but the whites have not come for the whole city of Baltimore like they have come for the entire city of Washington D.C. and the entire city of Philadelphia. It's interesting. I don't know what Baltimore is doing to keep the gentrifiers at bay. But keep it up.
There were did Andy E. Casey do some big development in Baltimore? They did some like downtown, because I was there I was there a few years ago, and I saw that they were doing a whole bunch of new reconstruction, the ballpark, and all that kind of stuff. So I agree, like there's these certain sections where it looked like folks were trying to take over, but like the masses were still around. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Dr. Lawrence Brown has written about this extensively. He calls it the black butterfly and the white L. So if you look at a map of Baltimore City, the white L is 83, which is the JFX, and down to, what is that, y'all? Pratt Street. So it comes down and then it goes like this. So that's where the white folks live along 83. And then I don't know if that's Pratt or Light. Sometimes I get Baltimore City confused. But then the black neighborhoods, East and West Baltimore, the black butterfly is the spaces of the city that have been, generationally disinvested. Republican Governor Larry Hogan declined the Red Line light rail transportation system, which would have really helped out connecting Baltimoreans who don't drive. A lot of people don't drive in the city, and the public transportation in Baltimore is boo-boo. So yeah, Baltimore, and all this under black leadership, by the way. Baltimore's had a tough time of it these past, let's say, 50 or 60 years. But gentrification stays at bay for the most part, I would say.
Yeah, I might move to Baltimore.
Ricky Ryan. She's right about that. Ricky Ryan says in the chat, Baltimore is the first city for redlining in the country. Big facts. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Yeah, I see we got the ear doctor in the background, ready to give us our first break. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, all they got to do is keep showing all the white people the Wire. Keep them out of Baltimore.
I thought that had something to do with it too at first. I was like, did they all watch the Wire? Like,
I'm saying, that's all they got to do. Just keep showing that over and over again. Well, yo, we about to go into a break. I got a little artist, not even a little. We're going to have to stop saying a little before we talk about things, because it's kind of brings somebody down. I got a big artist I'm about to bring forth.
Big.
So we're going to put the spotlight on him. So let's
go.
Let's do that. Don't start with me this morning, Kim. Don't start. Oh, wrong one.
Goddamn.
There we go.
There we go.
A lot of buttons. A lot of
buttons for an engineer. RemiX.
What up? What's good, everybody? This is the RemiX Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and you are tuned in to Black Power Media. Make sure y'all hit that like, subscribe button. Make sure y'all also go to patreon.com and drop some change in the bucket so we can keep this movement going forward. Make sure y'all join also. Now, real quick, I wanted to give a spotlight to a brother that's been doing this thing here in the city. He goes by the name of Masiki Scales and Common Ground Collective, as you can see right there. This is a band that performs with, dancers, singers, horn players, in a almost like Fela. They do a lot of Afrobeat, line dance music, hip hop, everything. So they also do jazz. So with that one, I wanted to put on this song right here called Sweet Dreams. So check it out by Masiki Scales and the Common Ground.
Hey, Oh, oh, heaven, angels, unicorns, and pots of gold. Oh, sunlight, Juliet and I until our eyes grow old. Oh, freedom, children dancing earth beneath their feet, making sweet, 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 until we're both complete. Yeah. I wanna hear the sounds of laughter. I wanna see you smile forever after. I want sweet dreams tonight.
Yeah. As you can see, you can follow them at Masiki Scales Common Ground. Follow them at Masiki Scales Common Ground for some more of that. So that's what it is, y'all. Let's take it on back to the morning crew. You know how we do. All right.
Tonight. Only sweet things.
Yeah, I dig that, man. I had my head bopping the whole time. That was very Fela influence right there.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
you know, I definitely got to give it up to these live bands, and we got to show more love to these live bands because I mean, it's a whole experience when you really just sitting there in front listening. I love DJing, but I ain't gonna front. Watching a live band is the shit, isn't it?
Agreed. Big
True,
time.
true.
Big time.
And he's a historian too on African music and culture, if I remember, because he came on Renegade.
That's right. He was actually my professor at Morris Brown.
What?
That's right. Yes,
Y'all
sir.
had one good qualified professor. That's
Hey, simmer down, Kamau. You
no. I wasn't sure if that was before they lost accreditation or after. I just didn't remember.
No Brown, big up. You know what I'm saying? It ain't Temple. It's better.
Wait, why would you take shots at Kamau's school, dog? I didn't say nothing about nothing
Kamau ain't got no school. he come from the school Big Dummies.
Thank you, Fred Sanford.
Now, didn't you go to Fordham or someplace, Kamau?
I have my undergrad from Baruch, my grad school degree from Brooklyn College, and my law degree from Fordham. Yes,
oh, excuse me, my bad.
Highly educated, yes.
Highly educated Negro here.
My street knowledge from Albany Project stuff.
Real quick, can y'all hear my mic now?
Yes.
Yeah, you a lot better, son. Now you can participate.
There we go. Now
you can stop being all raggedy from Connecticut and actually get together.
It's because I didn't graduate college. You know what I'm saying? I didn't graduate school, so my fault.
Big up School of Life over there, Hiram. You and me both, bruh.
You know what I'm saying? class war veteran.
That's right.
Hey, let me explain something to you. My undergrad was a complete waste of time and money. So, I mean, I would have preferred not to have gone to college. Right after I graduated college, it's like as soon as I got my degree, I said, oh, this was a big scam. I just got scammed out of like $35,000. Ain't this a bitch?
I went to CUNY for undergrad, and back in the day, I'm sure they still got it. Like Pell and what was the other one? Pell and something else we would get. One would pay directly for a tap. One would pay directly for tuition. The other one would go to your pocket. And so you always knew when people got their Pell checks because everybody would come to school, and this is back in the day. With a new sheepskin, little leather bomber action.
Sheepskin. You talking about like 83?
Ooh,
the sheepskin era lasted. Yeah, it was a little while. That was a little while. Yeah.
You were in college in 83?
No, 83 to 87 was like sheepskin era. I was in college in 80.
Hey, calm down, Hiram. Calm down. I was in high school in 85. Calm down.
Miss Jackie, you good, but the way this man be acting like he all cool and hip. For somebody who went to college in 83.
Not 83, I went to school, by the way.
With the size jeans, Kamau be out here wearing.
86.
Whoa.
got the size of his jeans.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
There's a reason why he moved all the way down to Atlanta and left us up here.
The brutality. Oh, the humanity.
You know what I'm saying?
Hiram Rivera, ladies and gentlemen. Remix Morning Show. It's going down like that.
Now that people can hear him and shit, you know what I'm saying? Now people can hear him.
Well, folks, are we ready to spin this
Let's
load?
jump in. Let's just jump in. This is
Welcome back, everybody. Remix Morning Show is the buzz.
everybody hit a bar.
We're bringing y'all the buzz right now. Val Franklin, Jacqueline Luke-Bond, Kim Brown, and special guest, Hiram Rivera, Mr. Buzz. Mr. got his buzz on, but that's all good, y'all. So starting with this news, perhaps I guess we can pick up where we left off yesterday. The discussion, the conversation surrounding the latest Dave Chappelle Netflix special, this one called The Closer. Apparently the last of Dave Chappelle's Netflix comedic specials. I guess until Netflix decide they want to run him another eight-figure check.
Yeah.
But this caused a little bit of discussion on the show yesterday. Jacqueline, I'm not sure if you had an opportunity to at least get a little clued in on where the discussion went yesterday. But it was a lot of critique, at least from my end, about Chappelle's overt transphobia. He absolutely, I wouldn't say picked a fight, but presented himself in an antagonistic way against the LGBTQ community, while at the same time erasing the Black community until like a good decent amount into the show, because all the shit he was talking about gay and trans people, he made it clear like halfway during the joint, or maybe 3/4 of the way in, he's like, I'm talking about white gays. And I'm like, well, nigga, this is the first time you said that. But but regardless of whether or not you're talking about white gays or not, the Black gay and trans community has had smoke for you, has had critique for you about what they perceive as attacks, and you do little to address that. So where should we pick off? Where should we pick up rather with this conversation?
Well, Jackie, you just watched it. You wanna jump in first?
I will say, that it's got to be one of the most unfunny Chappelle specials that I've seen. It was really, it just wasn't funny. But I think that the points he was trying to make, and I actually got the points that he was trying to make, that there in some other marginalized communities, there's also antagonism toward Black folks. But he made those points in such really kind of shitty ways where he seemed to be, where it's like he was unnecessarily diminishing maybe not the struggle, but unnecessarily diminishing, who other people are. To make the point that they also sometimes fuck over Black people, right? And I find that to be unnecessary. And I mean, I get his comedy, it's his art, if that's what he wants to call it, and all that kind of stuff. But I also have to keep in mind, we're talking about a celebrity here who is not like, a politically astute anything. So it's weird to frame anything that Dave Chappelle says in a political context, but we know that too many of our folks pay too much damn attention to what celebrities say and why they say it. So, I get that if I was reading it right, he did say he agreed with the whole turf business, the trans exclusionary feminist business, which I think is, me personally, I think that's bullshit. And he was trying to make this point. I do think that he was calling himself transphobic in a sarcastic kind of way.
But serious.
But he, like I said, he did say that he agrees with trans exclusionary feminism. He's a feminist as long as trans women are not included because trans women aren't women. That's what, he said, because they can't push babies out or some,
He said because they
ridiculous.
don't get periods.
And yeah, he said that too. He said that too. But it's all very. It seemed to me it was all very kind of he. I feel like he might as well call the special. He might as well call that special. All the shit I wanted to say all these years before, but I didn't. So I'm just gonna throw it on the floor and see what happens. Because I really feel like that's what it was. It's like this is all of the really fucked up shit that I have wanted to put in my specials, but I was already in trouble, so I didn't. So fuck it, this is the last one. I'm gonna go for broke now. I really feel like that's what he did. But I think the thing that ticked me off the most was that he tried to make this big point about having empathy, and it's not about pronouns, and it's not about what you call yourself and this, that, and the third. And it's weird to me coming from a person whose people have fought over what people call us and the right to call ourselves what the fuck we want to call ourselves. So it's really, that to me, other than like the cheap shots at the LGBT community and
Me Too movement.
and the fact that he just didn't even say anything about the black women who actually started the Me Too hashtag. And
why would he do that, Jackie?
I think if he had said the Me Too movement had been hijacked by white women, I would have rocked with that. But it was like, oh, it was a white movement. It was like, now wait, nigga, no,
but Jackie,
no, wait, man, but I think that the fact that here is a black man who comes from a people who have fought our entire existence in this country, not only over how we have been treated because we've been marginalized, but have fought for what we are called, how we are called, the names people call us, what they see us as, and how we see ourselves. For him to say the kind of things he did about other people who are having the same kinds of experiences for different reasons, but the same kinds of experiences for self-actualization and determination and self-respect. That was weird to me. That was I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. I thought that was I get that he doesn't like the term punching down, and I know that sometimes we do use phraseology kind of flippantly out here in these movement streets, but I just really felt like the special was, big ups to all the people who hate political correctness. It's okay to hate political correctness because Dave Chappelle said so. And so I was just like, all right, well, glad that's over with.
I had several issues with it. So let me start off by saying that I did laugh during the comedy special, right? Dave Chappelle did make me laugh. The first, let's say 15 minutes, I probably laughed more than I did the last hour of it, because he went on, some tangents that were just really dry and just really kind of devoid of like consistently funny things. Like he'd say things that kind of make me snicker, but it wasn't sort of like the knee slapping, like, run out of breath from laughing so hard that I had come to expect from Dave Chappelle of comedy specials in the past. When he was like, so specifically about the Me Too movement, right? When he was like, and these bitches, all these bitches showed up at the Oscars or the Emmys and they was wearing black, and that's not a good way to counteract the Me Too movement or blah blah blah. And it's like, well, Dave, I don't recall you really speaking up a lot during the whole Me Too movement. I don't remember you saying really much of anything. And in that same bit, he said, but I walked away from $50 million. Nigga, that is not the same thing, okay? Because there was people actually out here being raped and being sexually assaulted and being harassed and intimidated. And that is not the same thing as walking away from $50 million. You might have thought Comedy Central was trying to rape you, but Harvey Weinstein was actually out here raping people. And then for him to sort of put the onus on the victims, like, oh, y'all should have picked the woman who was in the mail room and made her your agent. Nigga, that's not how this shit works. So whatever solutions or whatever your commentary is about this particular issue surrounding Me Too, that shit was off and that shit was not funny at all. But when it came to the trans issue, this was what bugged me, because it seemed to be Like he was like totally glossing over the Black gay and trans community, right? Like he only referenced Black gay and trans people a couple of times when he said he had an incident with a gay person in a bar in Austin, and the white gay person called the police or attempted to call the police, and he said, "I know if that had been a Black gay person, they'd have never called the police." Okay, but you're ignoring all the spoken criticism that the Black gay and trans community have for you regarding their perceived attacks coming from you to their community. So I felt like he just very conveniently erased the Black gay and trans community at the same time that he kind of had smoke for the entire community as a whole. And I'm seeing people in the comments talk about, the alphabet mafia. Dog, let me explain something to you. Black gay people have it worse out here and harder out here, and Black trans people, than everybody sitting present. Okay, if we live a cisgender, straight, heterosexual lifestyle, even though we are all Black, someone who is gay and Black or someone who is Black and trans is living a much harder experience than us. And if we don't sit there and acknowledge that and accept that, then nigga, we ain't never getting free. Because some people seem to think that the gay people got it easier just because they are loud and now and can bring attention to their issues, that somehow equates to power. No, it doesn't. Dave Chappelle is in a position of power because of his stature, his wealth, and his platform. If
Well,
y'all
he's in a
don't think
position
that,
of power because he's a funny comedian and he's gained wealth off of it. I mean,
that's right. So that
yeah,
makes him an elite, does it not?
yeah. No, but I mean, but he's not an owner of the means of production, right? I mean, when I think about, when we got to think about who we're going to, and again, I agree, we need to have a conversation about people who bring up topics within our community that we find either pushing us the wrong way or have influence. And so these conversations are definitely had. But I'm not going to equate Dave with with a capitalist class who have power over our community, who keep us from jobs, who oppress us, who lock us up, and so forth and so on. So I think that's one thing too. I mean, I think you guys are right about the comedy special not being as funny as things that Dave has done in the past. For me, part of it was that he was just rehashing things that he already did and some of his other comedy specials. And so when it's on repeat, it's like, oh, well, I heard that before. And some of it for me is Chappelle is a shock comedian, right? So he's there to shock. And so some people may find shocking humor or things that are meant to just be shocking or said to be crazy to be offensive. And some of us may find it to be something along the lines of more like, oh shit, I can't believe he said that shit, and keep it moving or whatever. I don't think, I think, Black folks, small issue, or I mean, I thought what he was doing with the Me Too was suggesting, particularly when it's talking about folks who went to the Grammys or Oscars, was that people are buying into the whole celebrity culture themselves by putting themselves sort of like as this is how we resolve or deal with this issue. And it's I think it's a critique in other circumstances we all have about some kind of like celebrity activism and so forth. But again, he is, whether or not he's the right messenger for it or whether or not people are taking it seriously, I agree that that's an issue. Overall, I thought the comedy special was subpar, but because I didn't think it was funny. I thought some of his, I do think that in terms of this comparison between the LGBTQ and the larger Black community, which of course some of that is as LGBTQ folks included, I think Black people are oppressed. I think Black people are oppressed for different reasons and rationales, but I think in total, Black people are oppressed. I don't necessarily agree that there's a hierarchy of oppression within the Black community. I think Black people are oppressed in different ways. I think Black men are singled out in different ways for oppression. I think Black LGBTQ people are singled out in different ways for oppression. I think Black women are singled out in different ways for oppression. But for me, it's all adding up to oppression. There's nothing that I can't cite for one particular group within the Black community that I can't cite some other stat that talks about the marginalization of another particular group within the Black community. So I don't do that particularly with the Black community around the oppression of us as a people. I think we are oppressed as a people, and I think the system does it in different ways, sometimes uses the same police in different ways to target different aspects of our community, uses social welfare systems in different ways to target certain people in our community. I think that all happens within our community. And so I think that's what binds us and pulls us together, is that we are oppressed for various reasons, but mostly we are oppressed because we are Black people in America. And I think that's something for me that stands out, that's important. But again, I take Chappelle as a comic, as somewhat of a bellwether for information or topics given. But I really don't take all of his shit that seriously. And so I was,
He's not talking
yeah.
about you. You know what I'm saying? Dave
I'm
Chappelle
part
doesn't
of the
have
public
smoke for
too.
for straight black men. You know what I'm saying?
One thing I didn't see Dave. I don't think Dave is as funny as he used to be, right? I think Dave goes up there and says a bunch of stuff just to say it, right? And he's got this wealth, he's got this celebrity now where he feels he could, but he repeats a lot of stuff that a lot of folks say and a lot of people believe because movement now, what we understand to be movement now, right? And this is my work, is predominantly run by like nonprofit organizations. They're not political organizations. And so folks aren't doing that study anymore. Folks aren't analyzing the material conditions, the time, place, conditions that we live in. Folks aren't doing that historical study, right? And so what it ends up being is a lot of nonprofit organizations, is folks fighting for visibility, folks doing the most loudest, brightest, outlandish stuff, right? To get funding, to get on TV, to become celebrity activists, to all that. And in that mess, in that vacuum, right? And then what came with that also was a sort of like anti-intellectualism. I ain't reading all the books, so I ain't listening to those folks from back in there, yada yada, right? People wanted to right the wrongs of the past, the invisibilizing and the erasing of black women, of queer folks during the civil rights movement, during the Black Power movement, all that, and swung the pendulum all the way to the other side. And when our movements, so-called movements, now depend on people who are not studied, who have not come up, who have not been trained up in political organization, who get their followings saying wild stuff on social media, you just end up with all kinds of stuff being thrown out there.
Dave
right?
Chappelle.
And then, well, not just Dave Chappelle, right? Folks who for a long time, and I can say as a cis hetero man, right, we're like, all cis hetero black men, blah, blah, blah. All cis hetero black men, blah, 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 blah. And after a while, if you are not grounded and accountable in a community, in an organization who can process this stuff with you, whatever, and you just listen to this, yeah, you're gonna feel some type of way, right? And then there's gonna be those folks who stoke those flames who like, yeah, you see them. So when folks pop up and we say alphabet gangsters or whatever, and we start regurgitating the language of the right, because all that stuff comes from the Proud Boys, 8chan, QAnon, all of that stuff, right? Then for me, I have to take a pause as someone who's been in movement for a long time, to take a pause. Like, why are my people regurgitating reactionary shit? What are we doing wrong that's got half of my people regurgitating reactionary shit, right? They're saying reactionary shit. It doesn't make what Dave said right. And fuck Dave Chappelle, right? Dave Chappelle is a multi-millionaire. Dave Chappelle's got nothing to say about the lives and the conditions, material conditions of black people anymore. Dave has an Asian wife, moved out to Ohio, right? Had his whole, I left Africa because I didn't want the money. Then you come running back when the Netflix motherfuckers is making it rain on you. I don't want to hear nothing about Dave Chappelle's analysis or nothing. What we need to do is sit back and realize as a movement and as organizations, right? Where are we lacking? Where are we falling? How are we letting so many people slip through the cracks, right? And be patient, because what was also lost is the patience with our people. Colonized people are going to say colonized things. You have to understand that, right? It's going to be messy, but we have to have patience with our folks to bring them up to that point. Now, if through all that work, folks still don't want to listen, then you put them under the airport when the time comes. But until then, right? Patience and work with our folks. And we need more independent political organizations, not nonprofits, right? The Black Agendas for Peace, the community movement builders, right? Folks who do the study, who do the historical analysis, who can put these things in their proper context, right? Explain people's material conditions, why they are, and then point them in the vision forward. Because if not, you leave them up to celebrities like Kanye, the Baby, Dave Chappelle, and everybody else, right, who don't read themselves to have the intellect to do satire well enough the way Carlin and some of these other folks used to do back in the day. And all they're doing is just shock stuff because that's the shit that sells on Netflix.
I mean, Hiram, you, whew.
Yes, 100%.
Sir, bring the sermon. Thank you. Pass the plate. The doors of the Revolutionary Church are open.
You're welcome.
Look.
I found him. Off to the side, and I brought him up. I brought him into the movement in 1983. With my bomber jacket.
When I was a sophomore in high school. I mean, the thing is, I get, critiquing entertainment, and as somebody who who is serious about political education, and I am dead fucking serious about political education. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to what celebrities do or say, but like I said, I know a lot of our people do. And I see, in the chat right now, and I've heard some folks, in the streets in our community say the same kinds of things, and they're trying to make a point about our oppression while using other marginalized people as if they're our problem. And if we understood the nature of our oppression, we would come back to what Kamal and Hiram just said, that we are oppressed because of who we are. And yes, in those marginalized communities, there are some white LGBTQ folks and some white trans folks who do collect their privilege sometimes, but that's because they're white. That's not because they're a part of the alphabet gang that people like to throw up. So I really have a problem with colonized people who, as I said, were are still struggling for our liberation, to laugh at the struggles of liberation of other marginalized people, even if they're not marginalized in exactly the same way that we were marginalized. I don't think it should have to make any damn difference that a gay man was not lynched and castrated like black men were. And honestly, if you knew history, you would know that's actually not true. That actually has happened to gay men. I mean, so I really feel like, look, we're either going to deal with the thing. And by we, I don't mean Dave Chappelle, because I don't expect him to deal with these issues. He's a fucking comedian. He's not anybody's, political leader. He doesn't intend to be. He's got opinions. He turns them into jokes. Sometimes his opinions are quite shitty. That makes his jokes quite shitty sometimes. And that's pretty much it. But when we take that as a signal for, yes, it's okay for us who are in this struggle for liberation to repeat and reflect that kind of thing, and we're giving credence to those ideas because it makes us feel like we've got more of a claim on liberation than those folks over there, then that's where we've got the problem. That's where I have a problem with Dave Chappelle and celebrity culture in general in the context of the struggle for liberation among marginalized people. Don't take cues from that dude. I mean, watch his comedy special if you want to, but ain't nothing what he said true about our struggle in these streets with all of our people. That's my take.
I mean, what I'm just disappointed is that Chappelle echoes so many attitudes that a lot of people in our community have towards the gay community, and I don't like the fact that some people in our community look at the gay community as the white gay community, like to the erasure of black, gay, and trans people all throughout our people. You know what I mean? Like black, gay, trans people, especially black trans women, have the highest rates of murder, really, among any demographic amongst black people. They have the shortest life expectancy. I believe the average lifespan for a black trans woman is 35, if I have that correct. It's something obscene, right? And we have black trans women murdered all over this country that get very little attention except to be amplified by the black, gay, and trans community themselves. And that's something that our entire community overlooks. There's still a lot of stigma around black, gay, and trans. A lot of finger pointing. Like, again, I don't like the language of the alphabet gangster, because again, if you're not interested in the freedom and liberation of black, gay, and trans people, you're not interested in your own liberation, right? If you want to have the freedom to oppress them, then fuck you, dog. You one of the problems. You know what I'm saying? And Chappelle was up there sounding big time like white folks in that special, because he pointed out the one trans woman that he had befriended, whom he had allowed to open up his comedic specials in the Bay Area, and her tragic suicide, which is I thought that was a interesting way that he shared that with us. But he sounded like white folks, like, see, I got a black friend Look at my black
Right.
friend. Look at
Right.
all
Who laughs at all
the
my
stuff I
racist
do.
jokes?
Right, exactly. You know, I mean, he was up there sounding like white folks, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, in my opinion. So I don't know. Like, I don't have the same reverence for Dave Chappelle as I used to. I think Dave Chappelle is weighing his current career, his current comedy direction still borrows heavily from his legacy, from his earlier so-called genius stuff that he used to do. And I really think, you know, Dave is just believing his own press right now and thinking that, you know, he can just come out here and say all kinds of wild shit and fucked up shit to other communities outside of his own community, and that everybody will think that that shit is okay, and it's not.
And a
And
big,
let
and,
me, I'm sorry, let me say real quick because I got to dip. There's one comment here that I really want. This is the problem with celebrity culture and revolution, an actual revolutionary movement. Someone said, as evidenced by this conversation, Dave Chappelle's special was successful in that people are talking about uncomfortable topics such as race and gender. This is the problem. This is the problem with this kind of shit. We've been talking about race and gender since we've been in this shit. You understand? We've been talking about these topics of race and gender and the intersection of the different kinds of oppression and all of this kind of. Dave Chappelle didn't start this conversation among us. And this is the danger of of the lack of analysis and historical understanding and clarity that Hiram was talking about. Because if you never read, if you have not been connected with people who are in the struggle, if you have not been in organization, because that's where you get a lot of this from, if you haven't been in organization, then of course you would think that Dave Chappelle is causing people to talk about these issues. But when in fact, folks in the struggle have been talking about these issues for decades. We are just not in a position to say that we walked away from $50 million to go hide out in Africa and then come back and marry an Asian lady and move to Ohio. But that's all I got to say. I got to go to work now. Peace, y'all.
Thank you, Jackie Luke.
one last thing. One last thing I wanted to say is that this isn't even about Dave, right? This is about, again, movement. And at this point, who is controlling movement? So when big philanthropy controls what we understand to be movement, when big tech like Facebook and Twitter control narratives and what information gets put out, what isn't, they also control whether debate can happen or not. And we have lost that ability to debate with each other on an intellectual basis, on a political basis. So then what happens is stuff happens disorganized all over the place, thrown all right, and you have like Dave and all that stuff. But it's not about Dave. It still comes back to us, right? We are unable to debate politically, debate ideologically around a number of these different issues. If it's the oppression, the very real oppression of queer and trans community, if it's patriarchy, if it's capitalism, if it's all those things, right? We have no spaces to actually debate that and wrestle with that intellectually with each other in the name of liberation, right? In the name of moving forward. And so what you're left with allowing big tech, big capital, right? The elite, white people, the 1%, to dictate that for us. And then we wonder why we're in this clusterfuck that we're in and why we're racking our brains and going crazy. It's not about Dave. It's not about the celebrities. It still comes back to us, right? And we have to, those who are in the know and those who are doing the work, have to pause and be like, look, why is it that so many people in our community, be they brothers, be they straight, be they whoever, and on the other side, also many queer folks as well, right? Don't feel comfortable coming into so-called liberation spaces. Don't feel comfortable coming into so-called liberation organizations. There's a reason for that. It's a very real, and that's on us. That's not on Dave. That's not on white folks, right? That's on us. And that's what we have to wrestle with, be accountable with first, look at ourselves in the mirror first, and figure out what needs to be done to make that space a little more welcoming for those folks. Still hold the line, right? Hold the line, maintain the boundaries. Certain things just not going to be tolerated, but with patience and love for our people, if we truly do believe like we're trying to build towards liberation. Because if not, then why are we doing this for?
None of us are free until all of us are free. Period. Point blank.
That's something to go get coffee on now.
Jackie
Peace, y'all.
She's headed off, y'all. By Any Means Necessary Radio on Sputnik. Check out Jackie and Sean Blackman when y'all get the opportunity.
Right, we got a few more minutes for the news. The ear doctor come on. We got any more news stuff that we want to jump on real quick?
I don't know if we can get to it in time. No, there's a clip of circulating Twitter of Kwame Ture talking about Black power versus Black visibility. And I thought it was pretty interesting. Now, ask me if Auntie can get her shit together in time in order to share it in enough time before we have to get to the ear doctor. But if you guys have another story, you guys are more than welcome.
One thing I'll bring this up, even though I think this also will take a little longer than the few seconds, but we'll just tell Ear Doctor to wait. You know what I'm saying? We'll just tell that dude to wait.
So Ear Doctor get on our time out here.
So this is, we talk about Obama a lot, and Covert Action magazine just recently did a story calling Obama a company family, the untold history of Obama and the CIA. Where basically it talks about his presidency as one that walked hand in hand with the CIA and the use of the intelligence agencies' philosophy and ideas to guide his presidency, particularly obviously when we're talking about sort of U.S. military action overseas, and how the U.S. under Obama went from a nation that was obviously fighting big wars to one where it started fighting smaller wars, or where it started using, let's say, covert action, drone warfare, special forces. In fact, there's one, I'm looking for it right now. There was one part of the article where it pointed out that at one point, special forces were in over 170 countries at this during the same time period under Obama's presidency. And some of the other things that it says Obama did was obviously backing coups in the Ukraine and Honduras, his pivot to military action in Asia, his support in arms sales for Saudi Arabia, suppression of evidence about CIA torture, and on and on and on. And basically him, again, walking lockstep in terms of the analysis of the CIA and then implementing the things that the CIA said that they wanted to do. And they said it was no sort of mistake that he walked that route, because some of this he learned from his very own mama, who worked a lot in foreign countries, including United States Agency for International Development in Indonesia and some other places, where they haven't necessarily tied her directly to working directly for the CIA, but having really close contact with the CIA and CIA operatives, and some of the work that she's doing. Actually, I'm helping the CIA in terms of its operations in the 1970s and so forth. So it's a great article to sort of, they jump to some conclusions, which they don't necessarily present all the evidence for, but for the most part, it really brings a lot of information on something I think we already knew, not only necessarily the fact that Obama did tie closely to sort of a sort of drone warfare, insurgency type of military footprint, as opposed to big military invasions, but the rationale and the reasons behind him moving in that direction.
One key thing I took from that article too is that his mom wasn't, right. They don't say she's an actual CIA agent, but worked for these front organizations, right? That were CIA pass-throughs, or basically fronts for the CIA agency. And so that when you had your screen up, incidentally, it had the paragraph there where it listed the organizations that she worked for, right? Some of them are foundations, right? And so the ties of the Ford Foundation, their ties to the CIA, and how they've worked collaboratively to disrupt, topple governments in the Philippines and other parts of the world is well documented. But also the organization USAID that she worked for in Indonesia, right? Where the US had the anti-communist fights over there, right? And the whole Jakarta process, right? For weaning out and creating basically the original kill list, right? Yes. Of communists. But USAID is that same organization that was in Cuba not too long ago, stirring up all the stuff over there when they were having the uprisings in Cuba, right? USAID has also been in other Latin America. So when you pop up with these SOS Colombia, SOS Nicaragua, SOS Cuba, they end up being tied back to that same USAID that the article linked Barack Obama's mother to in Indonesia and the CIA, right? And how these things just continue moving on, and the use of these organizations, the Peace Corps, USA, right? All of these sort of like nonprofit organizations, international nonprofit organizations, humanitarian organizations that go into Haiti, that go into Cuba, that go into, no, we're just working with artists. No, we're just trying to, I think what was she doing? Help small business in Indonesia. Oh, and just by happenstance, right? These revolts, these coups, these blood massacres just happen to pop up everywhere. These organizations, these humanitarian aid organizations, nonprofits pop up. And so USA was linked in that article, and USA is one that was definitely in the news and popping up when the stuff in Cuba was happening, and Venezuela, and all these SOS movements.
No, I think you're definitely right. I mean, that's been the role of USAID, is to be that, you said it correctly, that front organization that is not always directly tied to the CIA, that says it's doing humanitarian work, but really is leading the way for these coups and assassination attempts to happen. But on that note,
What was
I think
all
it's
this
time
before 08? Is my question.
Say it again. Say it again.
This is all information niggas could have used prior to the election in 08. You understand? Like, Obama was the most successful operative ever executed on America, specifically but Black America. And you know what? I would have loved to have known this more so than that he attended an Islamic, Islamic school when he lived over in Indonesia. Like, this is
but it was known. It was known, right? What we ended up falling into was the historical moment, right, of a first Black president. And like every election, this is the most important election of our time. Now is not the time to do this. We have to beat whoever it was at that time, right? Because every single election is the most. We get them in, and then we're going to hold them accountable. And then, okay, no, he's got to be reelected because it's the most important election of our time. And right, it's just wash, rinse, repeat. So it was noticed that folks didn't want to hear it. And when 2024 comes back around again, right, and Joe Biden is running again, and the specter of Donald Trump presents himself again, everything that happened now, we're going to forget that Ku Klux Klan Strom Thurmond's best friend, Joe Biden, because that's documented. The man's a Klansman. It's been documented. Gonna go out the window because we can't. This is the most important land. You know what I'm saying? And that's why.
Except for the fact it won't be Biden, because he's gonna be dead by then. It's gonna be Kamala Harris.
Top Mala, y'all ready?
Yeah, it's gonna be top cop. And then the top cop, you gotta get the Black woman in for the first time, that kind of thing too.
Real quick, hold on, I'm sorry. Yeah. Real quick, people are asking, where can they can find that article again?
Covert Action Magazine. It's the cover story on Covert Action Magazine. All right, let's go to the Id Doctor, because I think we got some other guests coming up too. Woo! Id Doctor, you want to pop back in?
Come on, son. Come
on, man. I get the perfect. You slow, son.
I'm saying if you would read the chat.
I thought you said I'm 5 minutes late.
Here's what. Let me come in and do the transition. I'm gonna come back right after we bring out Balagoon. So that's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna go to Balagoon, and then we're gonna come back, talk some more, and then I come back on a break. How about that? So let's take it to Balagoon. Warrior class. Warrior.
Greetings. Welcome to Technique of the Week. I am Balogun Ojetade.
Ogunbile.
And today we're going to be dealing with defending yourself in an extreme close situation. All right. This can happen many ways. I've seen this so many times, and you have too. You probably just didn't identify it as a technique because the people doing it weren't known for technique probably. But this is one thing we go to. Somebody peppering you up with punches, you grab them, trying to keep yourself safe. I've seen people with knives, and they have a knife and they're stabbing at the person, and the person grabs, pulls them in. They're somewhat trained, and they will pull that person in to try to keep them control of their arm, keep them from stabbing. This is called a 50-50 clinch, over-under clinch. If the person has a knife and I'm in here, pull that knife out, be like, pull it. can't pull that knife out. You say, well, he can stick you in the back and all that. Certainly. That's why this is not our go-to place. I'm just telling you what happens a lot of times when the person has the knife, okay?
It's not easy to even stick them in the back, even if you do it still, though.
Yes, so because if you know how to clinch properly.
But you can't hold that too long.
Sometimes you're firing off, boom, boom, bang, bang, like I said, and the guy grabs you. If he grabs you around both arms, you have what's called double underhooks. You can immediately go into a throw. That's not the best place for him. Really not the best place for you. Because both his arms are free, really. If he just lets you go, now he could keep his arms controlling, his elbows controlling your arm, and reach into his pocket and grab something. So it's not the best place for you either, unless you are an MMA fighter or something, because you don't have to worry about knives and things of that nature, but we do. Okay? So if he grabs you that way, immediately work one of your arms out. You want to have one arm on top of him and one arm around his body, a little higher than the middle of his back, if possible, okay? That's the clinch. You want to have your head on the same side that you're grabbing. He also wants to do that to you. And we always train for the person that knows what they're doing. So assume that a person is trained, so you really bring your A game. He's on this side because if he's on this side where he's getting punched in the face, if he brings his head to this side, he's getting tore up because that's my free side. And I'm still controlling with my elbow. If a person grabs you like this, though, you don't want to be here too long because they can easily start manipulating you around. They can throw you. Knees. It's not the ideal place to be, okay, unless you are doing a sport, something like that. So what you want to do, if somebody gets you in this kind of position, or is grabbing you, trying to take you somewhere and it is close, use your shoulder as the tool, okay? So slam your shoulder into their chest or what have you. That gives you that room. Slam it, headbutt. Bring that up. Headbutt, you headbutt with the side of your head. Do not use your forehead. The head bleeds easily. You don't want that bleeding in your eyes. But down here, it's just the skin bleeding. Your skull is not going to crack from that. Okay? And your target is, if he's like that, is right there at the soft part at the back of his neck. Don't hit his head with your head. It's the neck, behind the ear. If he's this way, jawline, hit with the headbutt right here, okay? Slam that in. So you slam that headbutt in. Once you slam the headbutt in to stun him, see how he's letting my arm go? Boom! Now you see, even if he doesn't, it doesn't matter. This arm is free. Slam that, now the elbow. So once again, I'm here, give myself room. If you don't want to use the headbutt, you can just, boom, slam that hammer into the side of his neck, boom, right? Boom, slam an elbow, an elbow, an elbow, and get gone. Once again, he's grabbed here. A bunch of people trying to take control of you, okay? One grabs you, thinks he's going to control you. Widen your base so you got balance. Slam that shoulder. Give yourself room. Slam. Slam. You can just beat your fist, okay? I like elbows. So you throw the elbow, you're out. One last time again on that is my shoulder. It slams into him. When you're training, don't go, okay, my shoulder slam. I always say this. Shoulder slam. Do the headbutt. And don't headbutt like that. Is your body's one unit. Headbutt. Okay. Headbutt. Then I throw an elbow. Then I push him up. No, the way you train is the way you fight. You're not gonna do that. So you're here. Slam that in. Boom. 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 Now push him away. Use some energy. Okay.
That elbow to the back of the neck is gonna probably shut him off. I'm getting weak with the back.
More than likely, it will. I won't do that too many times because I know that's not pleasant. So you're pulling him in, boom, right? But first here, boom. You could pull him in to save yourself. then slam him back, and now you got him. Bang, bang, bang. Okay? So that's how you deal with if you're in extreme close distance. You say, well, when I get in that, besides being in a fight, you could be in the toilet and somebody comes in on you. In my younger days, I was in the club. Cats came in the toilet demanding money. I left. They were still in the toilet because I know what to do from those closed quarters. Because in that small space, you don't have time or space to fire off like that. So you got to do it from here. Shoulder and knees are your best thing, and your elbows from that close. Headbutt if you're comfortable with using the headbutt.
Happen anywhere. You could be in the line. You could be on MARTA.
Line. Hopefully you're not at a club, but not just in the bathroom, just walking through a crowded club.
Yeah, it can happen anytime.
Okay. Yeah, on the bus.
Step on my Jordan. Step on my J's.
I hope not. So be prepared when you're up close. You can work this with your partner just with energy, but don't slam your shoulder into them. I didn't slam it, but that's enough to move them, okay? But you really want to boom to them. Hit them in the chest area, or if they're shorter than you, you can slam this right into their face. Right into their face, okay? Into the nose. Don't so much aim, just throw that shoulder in, boom! Hit them in the face, and then the elbow comes. Elbow comes. When you're striking with your elbow, try to strike as close to the tip as possible, not your forearm. The elbow, right? All that weight in there, the elbow, the knees, and the headbutt are the three most powerful tools you have as far as your body is concerned, because there's so much weight behind that, and they're quick. All right, that's the technique of the week. This week, if you have questions, you can ask on Saturdays, Warrior Class 1 p.m. Every Saturday, right here on Black Power Media. Stay black. We love y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Yes.
Right.
Another insightful education on how to defend and attack in close quarters. And everyone in the chat is laughing at the same thing I'm laughing at. Brother Balagoon said he went in the bathroom. They tried to rob him and he left the bathroom. They were still in the bathroom. Because apparently Brother Balagoon do not play that shit.
Word up.
Kalanji has joined us.
I'm in the building. Yo, Hiram, thanks for holding us down. CT forever. What up?
Forever. What's going on, boy?
Hey,
Let's not buying too much on that shit. All right.
Hey, man, you got two Connecticut's for the price of one. Okay. You know what I mean? Hiram holding it down. You know what I mean?
What's
good, y'all?
Go.
They was giving it away at the gas station, them Connecticut's.
Hey, you will get left in the bathroom any part of Connecticut. Word up. What's happening, man?
A quick shout out to Mr. Bridge, I think it is.
Breckenridge.
Breckenridge, new YouTube member. We appreciate it so much. Yo, we don't do enough begging on the show, so let's just put that out there. We need more Patreon sponsors, more memberships, help support us, and all that kind of good stuff. Y'all know who y'all is. We'll be canceling y'all memberships on Patreon.
It's not that. Kamal, sometimes, okay, for example, my Bank of America card got compromised. So Bank of America canceled my card, right? So I had to go back and re-add all my joint to everywhere on the internet where I was doing automatic payments. So sometimes Patreoners, you know, shit happens. Like, don't take it personal, man. They still support you.
Hey, man, y'all help us stay here. Help us stay here. Please, help us stay here. Help us stay here.
Baby, please. Baby, please.
What's good,
now we'll
man?
get back into a couple more news segments. What we got coming up? Oh, you got a guest coming up.
I got a guest at in about 14 minutes and 10 seconds, but you know what I'm saying? We're good for now.
So we got 14
Shout out to Balagoon, though. Huh?
So we
Yeah,
got
so
14 minutes and 10 seconds. 10
Yeah.
Man, to get
So
busy.
I got this Kwame Ture clip.
You got it
allegedly
up?
play. Well,
Okay.
allegedly,
Kwame?
yeah. I'm sharing my screen, so I mean,
Not yet. You're not. No.
now you know what?
No.
Come on.
I'm just saying. Wait a minute. I'm gonna add to there. Oh, you're doing that whole thing again.
Okay.
You do.
All right.
You act like I'm
Pornhub in
doing
the
something
back.
that I'm
Okay, I see
aware
you.
of what I'm doing. Let's start there. Is it working?
No, not. I mean, it's kind of working.
Oh, well,
But
it
you're doing
says I'm
that thing where
sharing.
it's like the Matrix, where it's like, you know, it's
Yeah.
it's a screen and a screen and a
Yeah,
screen and
yeah,
a screen. There you
Tap.
go.
There we go. Okay, so this is obviously an older interview of Kwame Ture. I believe he was talking to PBS's Charlie Rose, and he was talking about basically how Black leadership class and Black celebrity class is about visibility, not so much about actually organizing and producing power for our folks. So let me see if we can get this thing to watching.
In 1965, there was rebellion in Lawrence. In 1992, there was rebellion in Los Angeles. In 1965, none of the things that you just advocated were true. In 1965, Sam Yorty was mayor. We have no mayors. In 1992, Tom Riley was a mayor. In 1965, we had no mayors to speak of. In 1992, Africans in America have over 300 mayors in the country. But all of these changes.
So in Atlanta, some of them,
the biggest
New
cities,
York,
biggest cities in the world, biggest cities in the country, and we have now some 7,000 elected officials. Matter of fact, Africans in America have more elected officials than any other ethnic group in the country, and yet they have no power at all. So all of these changes have been.
But how would you define no power then?
I'm coming to show you no power. The fact that the conditions of life of the masses of our people are worse today in Los Angeles than they were in 1965 show that we have no power. We have a lot of visibility. Jesse Jackson, seen all over television, he has no power at all. None whatsoever. So they give us visibility but no power. So the conditions of the masses, because there's no power, becomes worse, not better.
But I don't think Kurt Smoke would say he has no power in there in Baltimore.
He has no power.
Why would you say he has no power?
Well, let me talk.
Okay, but wait, let me just say one. Go right to it. Why would you say he has no power? He's the mayor of Baltimore. I mean, he's trying to do things to affect not only African Americans but other Americans in Baltimore, and he has more power than.
I'll tell you why he has no power. For us, power can come only from our organized masses. All of our power to bring change in this country come from mass struggle. That's clear. So if the power comes from mass struggle, it is clear to change things. Political power can only come from the organized masses to ensure those changes. And since the masses of our people are not organized, he can have no power at all. None whatsoever. If he does, where's his power base? It certainly is not the masses of his people. And if it's not the masses of his people, the power base must be used against his people.
Shit. And listen, when Kwame Ture was talking specifically about Kurt Schmoke, the former mayor of Baltimore, dog, I mean, you know, not to say that hindsight is 20/20 per se, but like he was 100% right. I mean, Kurt Schmoke, one of the radical things that Kurt Schmoke tried to propose while as mayor of Baltimore was the decriminalization of all drugs. And when I tell you that the white power structure in Baltimore City and the black power structure as well lost their collective minds when Kurt Schmoke had the audacity to even suggest such a thing, because heroin was wreaking such havoc on the city of Baltimore. He was pillared out of office, basically, right? And so Kwame Ture is 100% right. Yes, all these black elected officials, mayors, governors, presidents, don't actually have any power to help the condition of our people. And I think that we have to sort of abandon, not we, because I think everybody here understands this, but we have to abandon ourselves of this notion that, you know, so long as we keep putting people in the office, we just got to put people in the office that, you know, represent us. And it's like, at the end of the day, once they get into office, they cease to represent us. They now represent the interest of the power of the office in which they now sit. So I thought that was a profound clip, and I was glad to see it making its rounds around Twitter.
Yeah.
Shout out to OG. Go ahead, handle your business.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, you know, we say those same things today. And that's the thing. That's been obvious for at least now 30 to 40 years in terms of the direction of our so-called freedom struggle or liberation struggle from the 1960s and 70s. I always point out to people, you got to look at who was allowed to survive and who was murdered. right? Who was killed, who was put in prison. The Black Power elements of the struggle, for the most part, were destroyed by the government through obviously COINTELPRO, but other methods and means. And when we say COINTELPRO, we're not talking about the FBI or Hoover. We're talking about the United States government, right? Who are the lead actors for that cause. And that cause was destroy any militant, any self-determining, any nationalist struggle, any socialist struggle that we were putting forth. And instead, to allow a certain amount of integration into an existing system, which they could always co-opt and control. And that's what's happened over the last 40, 50 years, is that this representation, again, that we've talked about a little earlier, either through political struggle. So even when you get somebody who claims to represent our interests, once they get into those offices, you see how they tilt right, or they tilt more liberal, as opposed to the radical rhetoric they use to ask us to vote for them. But for the most part, most of them go in there already knowing that they are just liberal appendages of the system, which means they're going to do what the development class tells them. They're going to do what the corporations tell them. They're going to do what their donors tell them. And for the rest of us, we should shut up and eat shit, right? Except when it's election time, come out and vote a little bit, and then go back, shut up and eat shit, right? That's what he means by no power, is that we don't have any impact collectively to make these people not do the things that they've been doing. And all that shows out by the continued degradation of our conditions in this country, where being the cities that we mentioned earlier, or Baltimore, like he just spoke about, in terms of what we have collectively and what we don't have.
I think you nailed it. The one thing I just want to say, there's this book, Sergeant Johnson, Revolutionaries to Race Leaders, that talks exactly about what you mentioned, Black Power and the making of African American politics, right? How we went from the Black Power movement, and once folks got into office, just fell in line with liberal Democratic Party bullshit. So check that out, folks.
Yeah, we've always confused influence and power. You know what I'm saying? We are unfortunately, due to our lack of organization, of course, we know, like a broken record, we remain powerless because of the fact that, as Malcolm pointed out, you know what I mean, we're rolling as separate fingers, separate digits and appendages. We're just like, no, I want to be the man. No, I'm the man. No, I want to be the woman. No, I'm the woman. I want to be, you know what I'm saying? And all that shit right there, that psychological damage has us just, backtrack. So we get we come to that point when we talk about the lesser of two evils. We get to that situation when we say, okay, boom, we rather vote for Biden than Trump and this, than that, so we get to, they pretend like we're making a decision, like we have some type of decision-making powers on a national level. We know that all politics are local. So, continue to push that. The most revolutionary mayor that DC had happened to go to prison and was, on plantation poison, so on and so forth. But he came up out of snake, you know what I mean? But like they say, absolute power corrupts absolutely. You know what I mean? So once you get to the house, you forget that you were supposed to have been in the field. The trinkets and everything that go along with the house are cool enough for you to say, look, man, I like it over here, so I ain't gonna push the issue too much. Or I'm gonna say this, that, and the third. But then when I get some backlash or whatever, you know what I mean? When the Zionists step to me, I got to change my vote in the last minute. You know what I'm saying? I got to say that I'm present. When a few minutes ago, I was, adamantly against it. You know what I mean? So, shout out to folks like Cynthia McKinney and Charles Barron and all of those who made an effort on the ground, who have actually been out there in the streets with folks like us, organizing in real time. So that's what it's all about. But check it, we got a guest coming up, and before that, we got the man with the audio, the auditory skills, the DJ himself, the ear doctor, right here on the RemiX Morning Show.
I'm just sitting here.
Wu-Tang.
You want to hear some Wu-Tang? That's funny because I'm in a moment of zen right now before this weekend, and I'm just sitting here pondering something. So I want y'all to step into my mind and check out what I've been thinking about. All right?
I don't know. It's
scary.
Yep. What's good, everybody? I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Y'all tuned in to Black Power Media. And, I'm sitting here and, we watch a lot of media, this, that, and the third. And it's a lot of things going on, especially in the world of sports, entertainment, and everything. And I started pondering and thinking about human rights. I started thinking about, you remember when we were humans, before we had the labels of our nationalities, the color of our skin, even gender. I mean, we were actually humans and we had rights and stuff like that, as in, this is my body, this is how I'm going to treat it. So I'm looking through, social media stuff, and I can't help but to look and see what's going on with entertainers and sports. You had this one MC that put this up while I was looking. NLE Chopper. I'd be damned if I had to take a vaccine to make music. On God, y'all, I wouldn't. With that said, it's a lot of entertainers, a lot of people that have regular jobs that are, for his entertainment, he doesn't have to take a vaccine. For a lot of people that are actually working, they have to take a vaccine or they'll lose their job. So that's kind of wild to me. And then at a time when it's like, all right, let's look at other sports and see how it's going on, especially in the NBA. We got it to the point where you wonder, how much is human rights worth? How much is human rights worth? So I just checked out another thing with Stephen A., your favorite sports guy, where he brought across this question right here.
He could miss $380,000 per home game. You think the man's just going to walk away from that?
I don't think so, Molly. But I tell you, Molly, you can't predict anything with Kyrie. A lot of people.
I mean, that's mega money.
Listen, Kendrick Perkins will tell you this. First of all, Kyrie has already made over 100.
Doesn't matter. You make more money, and the bills get bigger.
Molly,
yeah,
you're not Kyrie. We're talking about Kyrie. We ain't talking about Molly now.
Yeah.
We ain't talking about me. We ain't talking about KP. We ain't talking about Marcus. We ain't talking about a lot of people. We talking about Kyrie. And he is considered a bit touched, dare I say, a bit bizarre. And as a result, he is the kind of person, KP, tell me if I'm wrong, he is considered the kind of person that has the potential to walk away from $35 million out.
$35 million. As you can see right there, it's almost a price. I mean, if you have to step away from something to get your mind right, like Simone Biles, if you're talking about Kyrie and you got to step away from what you're doing to get your mind right, it's about you. It's about yourself and healing yourself. So how much of ourselves are we giving up to be like, all right, we'll do what you say, just pay us the right amount of money? How much is human rights worth? That's my question for the day. But at the same time, let's remember, we are humans before we are all these labels. And if I keep pinching you, I could be like, why are you pinching me? And I'll be like, you know what? I keep pinching you. And I can say, stop, because this is my body. Stop pinching me. Facts. It is your body. So for all the people that's out here debating and having division between each other human because of different reasons, remember, our culture came from our environment. Each and every one of us. So this ain't the type of environment we need to be having right now. We need to come together and unify and figure out what's the solution. With that said, that's my moment is in. Let's take it back to the crew. Now we do. Are we gonna take it back? Okay. Let's go.
Yeah. So I got disconnected from the stream, so I wasn't able to catch all of your moment of zen right there. Shut up, Kamal. Shut up, Kamal. So I'm confused about your point regarding Kyrie Irving. So you're saying that he has a right to be human and exist in the space, but if he's refusing to get vaccinated, I mean, nobody said he couldn't be a human and walk around. They just said you can't show up to this particular venue and play basketball if you refuse this vaccine. Like, no one's saying, Kyrie, you're banished to the gulag. They said, Kyrie, you can't come in here unvaccinated around all these people as a reason for public health.
I think it's more the point where Stephen A. was saying, he's kind of weird. He does his own thing. It's his right. We're talking about human rights more than we're talking about vaccines or anything. It's about a human right. If he chooses not to do this, that's his right. I mean, that's right. But then you get shown to the people like you're crazy, you're an idiot, you're endangering other people. Then we understand through, as I said before, with the history of this vaccination, we understand now that not only unvaccinated people can give it away. Vaccinated people can too. So we kind of sitting back and watching the experiment for a lot of people that haven't been vaccinated. So just like y'all sitting back watching the experiment to see how it is with other people. So we're all sitting back and watching and seeing what's going on, but in the middle of it, we're fighting each other, and it's getting kind of tiring. We gotta get past this.
But do you think Kyrie Irving has experienced some sort of like oppression or discrimination as a result of his declining to get the vaccine? I mean, first of all, anybody who would operate off Stephen A. Smith's opinion about another person is already starting from a point of deficiency to begin with, right? Like if Stephen A. Smith is going to influence what you think about somebody else, you already have a malfunction to start with. But I mean, Kyrie's still very rich. Like I don't see where he's suffering. You understand? Like there's people out here actually suffering.
You see what you said about Rich? What does that have to do with anything?
That means he's not. That means he's housed. That means that he has food in his refrigerator. That means that he is not concerned about freezing to death or dying of some sort of elemental exposure. That means that he is comfortable.
Okay.
Hey,
before let's continue
real quick. I appreciate the ear doctor bringing up this and the issue of human rights. Because leaving Kyrie alone. Right now, currently, the United States blocked Venezuela from purchasing 13 million vaccinations, right? And 30 million syringes. The United States has also blocked Cuba from buying millions of syringes so that they can vaccinate their folks. Regardless of what you believe around the vaccine or not, I'm just saying in terms of human rights, 75 different countries around the world, right, are fighting at the United Nations to end what they refer to as vaccination nationalism, where the United States and the UK pretty much hold all the vaccines, the patents and all that, and don't allow all these other countries, predominantly in the global south, to have access to vaccines, to have access to be able to even vaccinate their own populations, right? And so it's not even to get into the Kyrie and all that, or whether you want to be vaccinated or not. We're talking about U.S. imperialism, what is referred to as vaccine nationalism, right? And the U.S. blocking other countries from being able to vaccinate their folks for whatever reason. The other thing that comes up, and I appreciate it because it leads to a segue, is that currently the folks at Kellogg, right, the workers at Kellogg's are on strike. So all your cereal makers are on strike because Kellogg made $1.25 billion during COVID because everybody's home just eating mad cereal. And what they're doing is now they're laying off their workers and talking about they're moving the factories and companies off to Mexico. Right, Nabisco, the people who made Chips Ahoy and Oreos went on strike, right? Frito-Lay went on strike, right? And what you're seeing now is that while all these big businesses, these corporations made billions and billions of dollars, while the rest of us couldn't pay rent, while the rest of us was over here struggling with COVID, now they're moving their factories to other countries. Now they're firing their employees, and you're seeing this mass, which doesn't get a lot of press, right? For obvious reasons, is a mass-wide labor movement that's getting really pissed off and starting to go on strike, right? And the greatest tool that workers have to make change is the ability to withhold their labor. Right? And once that starts to happen, and so when we're talking about human rights, and I appreciate you bringing up the human rights, it goes beyond celebrity again, like Dave Chappelle, to talk about why is the United States blocking the rest of the world from getting vaccinated, right? And two, the shystiness and the shadiness of these billionaires who made enough money to fly rockets out into space, right? While you're over here struggling to feed your family under a pandemic, to then force everyone to go back to work, right? Do this crazy forcing people to get vaccinated. I don't believe in forcing people to get vaccinated in your job, depending on it, while you're, also offshoring labor, right? To drive more people into poverty, more people into desperation. So I appreciate, the segue that it led into this broader discussion of human rights. When we talk about the vaccines and we talk about this issue, we stay focused on the United States. Well, this is a global phenomenon.
Because who knows? This could have been a test to see how far we can get on, having these dealing with people's human rights. Like, how far can we go with mandating stuff? This might be the first test. We'll see.
Well, check it.
We get to our guest now.
Yes, speaking of medical issues, we have a guest. We have Dexter Pagans. You know what I'm saying? And he's with Still Standing LLC. He is a owner and primary instructor for Still Standing. He was a Marine Corps and U.S. Army vet for 23 years. And, he was a combat medic and a combat casualty care instructor. He's one of our comrades. I'm grateful to have him on because of the fact that one of the things that was discussed last week was that the fact that there are folks who were in special forces and special services in the military, and that training don't often hit the streets. Today, we just had two folks back to back. We have Balagoon, who's special forces, and we have my man Dexter, who's a combat medic, who's teaching classes right here in the Atlanta area. So in a few ticks, we're going to be right back with you with Dexter Doc Pagan. Remix Morning.
Remix.
Doc, what's happening, man?
Hey, good morning, Kalanji.
Man,
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Man, honored to have you on. You know what I'm saying? And you know, as always, true to the nature of our work. I hit you up late last night. I was like, hey, what's happening? You know what I mean? And you're like, I'll be there. You know what I mean? So definitely, you know, salute to you for coming through. I gave a brief bio, but I don't think I gave it justice. So if you don't mind, give us a little bio on who you are and what Still Standing is.
Okay, cool. First of all, it's an honor to be a part of the discussion. And I want to thank you, brother, for inviting me to be a part of it. But anyway, once again, my name is Dexter Pagans. Nickname on social media platform, I go by the name of Doc. And that's only because of my past background. I spent 25 years in the military, Marine Corps and the Army, in which 23 years of that was in the Army as a combat medic. And in the military, you know, the combat medic is Doc. Doc is Doc. Basically, you're the first person, if someone gets hurt, you're pretty much the first person they see that's going to treat them, provide the medical care before you can evacuate them out. So anyway, that's my past background. After that, last 15 years, I was working in emergency management, emergency response at actually two federal organizations. I won't call the names out, but two major federal organizations. I work in the area of emergency preparedness and emergency response. I started my company in 2012. It's called Still Standing. Basically, my focus with my company is provide emergency medical care training to folks in our community, you know, to try to help empower us, you know, in that area, as far as knowing that, you know, in times of emergency, you know, you can make a difference with the proper training and equipment. So, welcome.
Word. Hey, man, definitely. You know, and you found your way to folks like us. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
We swap different trainings or whatever. Shout out to Balagoon with the African Martial Arts Institute. You've assisted us with the Urban Survival Preparedness Institute, which I co-chair with Balagoon. But one of the things that we do with USPI is we have our bug out bags and our bug in bags. Of course, the bug in bag is in case there is some type of emergency crisis or whatever, and we're trapped inside of the home. The bug out bag is, you know, what we keep in the car just in case, you know, it goes down, we're in the move, so on and so forth. You carry a particular special bag too that we have incorporated and folks need to incorporate. Can you talk about that bag and what folks should be carrying and why?
Okay, Kalanji. Yeah, the bag year references is what we call IFAC. IFAC stands for Individual First Aid Kit, and basically what's inside this, what's inside the Individual First Aid Kit, and I don't want to confuse it with the typical, we'll say, your standard first aid kit like you might find in your house, where, you know, a lot of us grew up. You know, we had mom, dad, grandmom, but somebody had a medical kit that had Band-Aids, aspirin, eye wash, you know, iPads. Okay, that's what I call scratch and bruise kit. But in those bug out bags, okay, when you got to evacuate out your home or trying to move to a safer location, something that you would keep in your vehicle because you don't know when that emergency is going to take place, and definitely something you're going to have inside your home. This particular bag has equipment in it that's designed to treat what we call life-threatening bleeding. That type of injury that's going to kill you quick. There's statistical, and basically it goes like this. Uncontrollable bleeding is the number one cause of preventable death in trauma. And basically what we're talking about is if you have like one of your major arteries, in this particular case, one of your major blood vessels, rather. In this particular case, I'm talking about the artery. If that artery is compromised and no one, to include yourself, takes action to stop that bleeding, you'll bleed to death within a matter of probably less than 5 minutes. So what's inside this individual first aid kit? We have tourniquets, okay, which are used to control bleeding from the arm and leg. Tourniquets are used on extremities only. We have pressure dressings, which is designed basically to get some pressure on that wound, because whenever you have a bleeding injury, the first thing you do while you're trying to get your equipment together is get direct pressure on that wound. Sometimes that may be all you need, but in the case of arterial bleeding, it's going to require a little bit more than that. Inside the kit also, you would have something what we call combat gauze. We call this quick clot, because a lot of times when people think about injuries, they always reference tourniquet, like tourniquet is going to stop everything. No, it don't work like that. Tourniquet is only used for arm and leg. Any other life-threatening bleeding coming from other parts of your body, you may have to pack that wound with some type of gauze to try to get to the source of the bleed. So one of those types of gauze is what we call quick clot emergency combat gauze. And then the last thing I want to talk about, because there's a whole lot of stuff in this kit, but I don't want to go through all of that. But another thing we carry in the kit is chest seals. Chest seals is if you have an injury to your chest, penetrating injuries causing an open wound, you got air from the outside coming into that thoracic cavity or that space that surrounds the lung. That air that come into that space is going to eventually cause that lung to collapse if you don't put something over those holes to keep that air from coming in. So that's where the chest seals come at. So anyway, once again, Kalanji, this kit is just called IFAC. You can put them together. I sell them myself on my website as well. But basically, the kit is designed to treat life-threatening bleeding.
As a combat medic out here in an urban area, because of the fact that I know that you mentioned that you served 25 years. Doing this particular work, how important, or I shouldn't say how important, I would say actually, what 5 things would you say would be mandatory for you to move around with at all times? You know what I'm saying? And I would say not even just you as a person, as an individual, but let's just say being an individual Black man in a particular climate that we're in right now. What 5 things would you suggest that folks walk around with?
As far as the medical equipment?
I mean, as far as anything, just survival, period. Oh,
okay. All right. To me, survival starts with mindset, having the proper mindset. And that is, and when I say mindset, I'm meaning that, you're willing, you make up your mind that you're willing to do whatever it takes for your survival, to include the people that you care about. So it starts with mindset. Another aspect, of course, is being physically fit to be able to perform whatever it is you need to perform. Now, I know a lot of times nowadays, especially in our communities, we have a high rate of violence. A lot of times it's related to firearms and stuff. So nowadays you have a lot of folks who are walking around, they call it everyday carry, that have firearms on them. But I talk about, if you're moving around with a firearm, what have you, if you know how to make a hole, you need to know how to plug a hole, because there's a good chance you go to a gunfight, you're going to get shot. So when I'm moving around, I'm thinking about those types of things happening. If something was to happen to me, do I have the ability to save myself? So of course I'm gonna have some forms of personal protection on me. I am licensed to carry and all that good stuff. But like what I learned from Balagoon, yourself, African Martial Arts Institute, I got all kind of stuff in my pockets because, firearm may not be it. You need to be able to skill to transition to other types of things and provides weapons, your hands, what have you. And of course, the medical component. I say if you're walking around or you're moving around with that firearm or with those different types of weapons, also make sure that you have some kind of medical equipment in your possession that you can apply to yourself or to someone else. At a bare minimum, Kalanji, what I would recommend is people would have at least a tourniquet, okay, for those injuries to the leg or thigh, major arteries. Also, quick clot combat gauze, that chest seal, and this pressure dressing or some type of pressure dressing, something you can wrap it. And these little things are small enough that you could actually put in like a quart-sized Ziploc freezer bag, stick it in your pocket. It ain't taking up a whole lot of space. But if something happens, you may not be able to get to your car to get to your medical bag that you got in your car. You may be away from your home and you got a medical bag in your home. So it's not gonna help you there. You need to have something on your person in addition to those other areas that if something should go down, you're prepared to respond properly with that medical care.
No doubt. For those of you that don't know, we have a youth organization called the Siafu Youth Corps, and it's an African scouting program. And with that particular program, we taught the children everything from agriculture to Balagoon and the crew to African martial arts, urban survival, how to deal with weapons, and all types of other life skills. But one of their favorite classes, according to the students, was Doc coming through teaching them about the whole combat medic situation, everything from chest seals to first aid, CPR, the whole nine. I want you to, and that's me saying salute to you because of the fact that, when you can reach the youth and keep them at bay and keep them, interested without any force or anything, that says, a lot about the quality of your work. For folks who are unaware, tell them about your classes. What are some of the things you teach? If you went to a class with Doc, I know you teach several of them. You know what I'm saying? But break them down to us. Tell us, what you get down with.
My primary classes I teach is what we call Stop the Bleed, and basically it's geared towards teaching someone who doesn't have any kind of medical. You don't have to have any kind of medical experience. You don't have to have any kind of medical knowledge. But in that class, we're going to teach you some basic skills to provide medical care to basically what you're doing is, like I talked about, uncontrollable bleeding. You're stopping that bleeding. And what that's going to do is provide that person some time until the EMS or EMTs show up. We're not teaching you to be an EMT or paramedic. We just teach you some basic skills to control that bleeding until advanced medical care arrives. That Stop the Bleed. We also teach CPR AED. We know we have a lot of folks in our community that have heart issues and different types of issues as related to heart problems, what have you. Should that heart stop beating and that person is no longer breathing, we're going to teach you what you need to do to either get that heart back beating or at least keep that blood moving throughout that body. Blood carries oxygen, and the cells in your body needs oxygen to live. Once that oxygen stops, things start to die. So we're going to do CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So basically, we're kind of simulating what the function of the heart and the lungs to try to keep you alive. Once again, until the EMS shows up. And then the last class I primarily focus on is what I call, what is known as tactical emergency combat casualty care. And that's geared towards people operating in like a high threat environment, or we'll say street soldiers, where you going into areas where you have a high incidence of violence, where you might find yourself caught up in the middle of some a shootout or some bullets flying through the air. We're going to teach you what you need to do to get that person or get yourself off the X, what we call out of that danger zone, to a safe, covered location where you can then provide medical care, once again, hopefully to sustain life until more advanced care arrives. So those are the primary three classes that I teach in and around the Atlanta area. If you have a group of 10 or more, I'll travel outside the state. Matter of fact, next weekend, I'm going up to Philadelphia. Some brothers up there bringing me up to teach a class up in Philly. I've been to Detroit. I've been to Baltimore. I've been down to Houston, Texas. So basically, a lot of like-minded folks like ourselves who's interested in learning, this type of training. So
no doubt. Real quick scenario, right? Okay, we talked about the hood. You talked about gunshots. Okay, we're in the middle of the hood. I'm rolling with Doc. You know what I'm saying? We about to go get some fruit juice and some berries or whatever we're gonna do, right? So all of a sudden we run into a gunshot victim, right? He's leaking, shot in the, let's say, abdomen.
Okay.
How do we approach the situation?
Okay, so Kalanji, first priority is self-preservation. And that is meaning before you just jump up and start running or start moving towards helping that person, you want to make sure that the scene is safe. Whatever you're not going to be able to help that person if you become a victim of whatever caused them to get hurt, because you don't know if that threat or whatever it is still active. So we call that scene safety, situational awareness, assess the scene, make sure you're not moving to danger. Okay. Next thing you want to do, me and you together, one of us need to call 911. So at least we know help is on the way while we're getting ready to move towards helping this individual, while we're getting ready to help them. We got our medical kit, okay? In that medical kit, one of the things I didn't say, but it's important, is what we call universal precautions. Putting on those gloves, nitrile gloves, if you got a face mask on, even eye protection, because now you're getting ready to expose yourself to blood and also body fluids from an individual you may not know anything about. So when I teach my class, I have a saying, what you don't see may kill you later. Okay. And that is, once you come into contact with that blood and that body fluids, those bloodborne pathogens may cause you, that person might be positive for HIV. They might have hepatitis or something. And because you didn't properly protect your hands, you got cuts on your fingers from practicing the martial arts and stuff, maybe some blood shot up in your face, you've just exposed yourself to whatever that person may have. So that's universal precautions. So seeing is safe, I call 911. I got my PPE on to make sure I'm protected from those body fluids and blood. Now I move up on the person. I start assessing them. I look for, and there's an order in which you provide medical care. We use the term March, like MARCH, as far as what do I need to treat first. M stands for massive hemorrhage. So anything where I got massive bleeding, I treat those bleeding wounds first. A stands for airway. I make sure that person's airway is open and that they're breathing, okay? So massive bleeding first or massive hemorrhage, A being airway. R stands for respirations. That's what I'm putting those chest seals on. If that person has some type of injury, we call it the box. That's any kind of injury from the neck to the navel, front, side, and back. You got to put seals on to keep that air from coming in through. So R is respiration. C is circulation, meaning if I'm able to, I want to make sure, of course, that, well, actually, this is pretty much for paramedic EMT, where they would actually provide like IV fluids or something like that. And the last one is H, which is if hypothermia or head injuries. A lot of times from trauma, if they lose a lot of blood, what have you, the body core starts to cool off, body temperature, it starts to drop down. Anything like around 95 degrees Fahrenheit, that body is starting to get to a point of irreversible shock, which is going to lead to death. So basically, we want to make sure that we keep the patient warm, we keep them comfortable, we keep them reassured until that help arrives. So basically, that's how you're going to provide care. Your primary number one focus is treat those massive bleeding. Anything where that person losing blood, you got to stop that blood flow, because if you don't, they're going to bleed out in a matter of minutes. If the airway is closed, that means they're not going to be able to breathe. You got to check the airway to make sure the airway is, and also if they're not breathing, now you're going to be doing CPR. Treat the bleeding first, get them back to breathing. And then, like I said, the R is respirations. Seal those holes in the chest. C, circulation, that's fluids. age, hypothermia, and head injury. You would treat those last.
Hey, yo, man. Listen, it's always an honor and a pleasure. I'm looking forward to more of your classes because of the fact that we know that you about that business. And shout out to all our folks in Philly. You said you'll be out there next week.
Oh yeah. Next weekend, the weekend of the 15th, 16th October. Mm-hmm.
Send us the information. We'll definitely let comrades up there know. Also, definitely give us your website information so the folks that are not in Atlanta or who are in Atlanta can tap in and get some of this good food and medicine.
Oh yeah, for sure. So my website is www.stillstandingllc.com, and that's spelled STEELSTANDING LLC.com. When you go to my website, you'll see my classes that are being offered in the Atlanta area. For example, I have a class on the 23rd of October in Atlanta. If anyone is interested in attending that Stop the Bleed class. Also, like I mentioned, I sell the individual first aid kits on my website, the IFAC. If you're interested in that, you can purchase that as well. Follow me on Instagram. I'm at Steel, STEEL.standing, STANDING. And if you want to shoot me an email, because maybe you're interested in setting up a class for some of the folks in the community, I can be reached at stillstanding7@gmail.com.
No doubt. Hey man, appreciate you, Doc. Stay on point. And we'll see you in the field, man.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, Kalanji. Stay safe out there, brother. All right.
Sir, we here. You checking out the Remix Morning Show. That was Dexter Doc Pagans, Still Standing LLC, giving y'all the business. We'll be right back with you. Remix in the building. Let's go.
What up?
Yo.
What up? What's happening?
All this information about, not only how to protect yourself, but how to protect and possibly save others in a critical situation. This shit is so valuable. And I can't believe that we're offering all this information for free. So yes, wonderful interview there, Kalanji.
That's what it's about. Thank you. It's about us. When we talk about organization, we got to take theory. You got to go beyond theory, and we have to put it into practice. You know what I mean? So often, one of my tasks, one of my roles that I'm going to attempt to make here at BPM is to bring folks some practical solutions. Instead of talking about, there's food deserts and all that, let's bring on farmers. Instead of talking about there's no black doctors or whatever in the hood or whatever, let's bring on folks who are training street medics. You know what I'm saying? And let's build, opposed to just talking about the things that we don't have. When we talk about revolution, one of the most important parts of revolution is not just destroying the system, but it's rebuilding after this shit is taken down. You know what I mean? And it will be taken down. So anyway, appreciate you all on the Remix Morning Show for for checking us out.
Yeah, we've had a good week. You know what I'm saying? This is, I guess, as folks like to say, this is our Friday. This ain't everybody else's Friday, but this is our Friday. We have special guest host, my man Hiram, who filled in brilliantly. You know what I'm saying?
Brilliantly.
Trying to hold down for the remixes. Hope I represent the remix as well, and want to clarify that my jokes aimed at Kamal's graduation year is not directed at anybody else's graduation year in the 80s. So, I see in the chats is not disrespecting folks who graduated in the 80s. All love to y'all. This is specifically directed at Chico DeBarge. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Chico. We're going to go all out.
Communist Chico DeBarge is not
Communist
aimed anybody else. So much
Isn't
love
that wild?
to Franny and to all the other remixes. I hope I represented y'all well today.
It's wild that L would have something to say about Chico. You know what I'm saying?
Called you L, brother.
How I don't get to be L, I get to be Chico.
No, that's a double entendre.
As long as I'm L.
He
calls you L in Spanish too, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to all the other 50-year-old remixers out there, because he wasn't talking about y'all. He's only talking about me and shit like that.
Lead the barge is in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
anyway, man, it's been a powerful week. Check out I Mix What I Like tomorrow. What time? 8 to 10.
8 a.m.
8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Got a lot going on this weekend. Again.
Anything happening on Burn It Down, Kim Down?
All the things are happening on Burn It Down with Kim Brown, y'all. We've had a really good week. A lot of our viewers at Burn It Down with Kim Brown, especially our patrons, have been taking advantage of the 15% off the annual membership at Patreon. It's so easy. And if you want to support at the $2 level, that equals to $20.14 for a year's worth of support. People who have been supporting at the $5 a month level can support us yearly for $51. I mean, people are really taking advantage of this good deal and the opportunities to support our platform for an entire year. So do the same thing for Black Power Media. If you are already a patron, Patreon is offering, again, 15% off annual membership. So consider supporting the media and the platforms that address the issues and the concerns that speak directly to you and yours.
Dope on the rope. Lukman Nation is back 7 p.m. tomorrow. Don't forget to check out Jackie doing her thing. Her and Brusky. Y'all call him Brewski. I call him Brusky because he's a black dog. Shout out to my man Abdus. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He wanted that way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's how we doing it. Saturday morning, Uncle Devin is back with that.
Uncle Devin's in the house.
Yo, I watched the Uncle Devin show on Saturday, and it was really good. It was really good. I was sending the link. I sent the link around to my friends who have young kids. I'm like, yo, check this out. The kids would actually really dig this. So shout out to Uncle Devin for really putting together a very, very good program for our youths out here.
Black liberation for the babies, yo. Black liberation for the babies. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Right.
10 a.m. Saturday.
Shout
1
out Didi in
p.m.
the chat. Didi, I see you.
Okay. 1 p.m. we have warrior class on Saturday as well. So make sure you come back and get some more of that. You know what I mean? So you won't get choked out, in the middle of the hood talking that yik yak bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Somebody slap your wig back. You know what I mean? You want to make sure you can defend yourself. Sunday, we got Sundays at 8 o'clock back again.
Ear doctor.
Yes.
Sundays is always a nice party.
I know. I be turning that on. I be like, yo, in the background, bam, let me throw some of that music on. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
hey,
and Ear Doctor has whole sets. You know what I mean? He did a go-go set this past Sunday. He is touching all these black music genres for all of us. So yeah, maybe we'll get a Baltimore club set. Who can really say, Ear Doctor? Maybe we can get a Chicago house set. Who can really say, Ear Doctor? You got to tune in on Sundays at 8 p.m. and see what specials the Ear Doctor has in store for us in the genres of black music.
More music, less
play some Wu-Tang.
Hey. On Tuesday, definitely play some Wu-Tang. On Tuesday, we will have the Honorable Ward Churchill will be on Riot Starter TV. You know what I'm saying? The 55th year commemoration or anniversary of the Black Panther Party will be coming up next week. So we're going to have Ward Churchill to talk about some of the things that's going on, the war on the Black Panther Party and the American Indian movement, so on and so forth. We know that this Monday is one of the primary colonizers' born dates. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to say that bitch's name. You know what I mean? So his monkey ass will be on Monday, and on Tuesday, like I said, we'll be talking about.
And for folks who don't know, Ward Churchill, writer of the COINTELPRO papers, former member of AIM or veteran member of AIM, longtime organizer, revolutionary radical in our community and stuff like that. So.
Yes, a legend, agents of repression, and the chickens coming home to roost. You know what I mean? He had this big thing back after 9/11 when he spoke out against, the attacks or whatever, and suggested it was made by the folks who many of us suggested. So he was let go of his position in Colorado as a professor but he, he stayed in the community, and definitely shout out to him and his wife Natsu. This is the Remix Morning Show. Like you all mentioned, it is the Friday of Thursdays, and just like we came, and it's been another short show for me today. It just feel like the show just went by so fast.
Yeah. You can't. You just breeze in for the last hour.
Remix Morning Show.
Somehow the show's been going smoother that way too, though. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Hey,
Remix
as long as y'all keep Hiram when I'm not around,
Hiram
balance to be there.
Long as he's sound,
Connecticut.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we'll need the sound.
Peace, Connecticut.
That's why y'all left Connecticut.
Peace, Connecticut.
All right, see y'all.
True. See y'all.
Bye. We out. Peace.